Jeroboam is a significant figure in biblical history, being a leader who played a crucial role during a time of great political and social division in Israel. He appears in the scriptures as a protagonist in a turbulent period shortly after the death of King Solomon. Solomon is remembered for his unparalleled wisdom and great wealth, but his later years were marred by his departure from pure faith and involvement with other gods, causing a moral decline in the kingdom. This led Israel to a breaking point, culminating in the division of the kingdom. During Solomon's reign, Jeroboam stood out for his skills and diligence, leading the king to appoint him as supervisor of the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh, descendants of Joseph. This appointment was not only an honor, but also a recognition of his competence. Jeroboam was a hard-working and reliable man, attributes that earned him the king's trust. However, his destiny took an unexpected turn when he met the prophet Ahijah of Shiloh. This encounter changed the course of his life and Israel's history. Ahijah, dressed in a new cloak, performed a prophetic act by tearing his cloak into 12 pieces, giving 10 to Jeroboam. This gesture symbolized God's decision to divide the kingdom of Israel, granting Jeroboam rule over 10 of the 12 tribes. This left only 2 tribes under the Davidic dynasty's control, a direct consequence of Solomon's unfaithfulness to divine commandments. Ahijah announced to Jeroboam, God would give him a unique opportunity. If he followed divine commandments and lived according to God's will, like David, his dynasty would be enduring. This promise, recorded in 1 Kings 11 verse 38, offered Jeroboam the chance to build an eternal legacy. However, Jeroboam's story is marked by a paradox. Although he received the promise of a stable dynasty, his future actions led him down a path of disobedience and idolatry. Initially, Jeroboam was a faithful servant of Solomon, but the king's oppressive policies led him to rebel. Fearing for his life, Jeroboam fled to Egypt, where he found refuge until Solomon's death. During his exile, he likely reflected on the future and the possibilities opened up by Ahijah's prophecy. When Solomon died, Jeroboam returned to Israel, only to face a new challenge. Rehoboam, Solomon's son, was about to succeed his father on the throne. The people of Israel, exhausted by heavy taxes and Solomon's oppressive policies, saw hope for change in Jeroboam. Representing the people's interests, Jeroboam led a delegation that begged Rehoboam to ease the tax burden. This was a crucial moment, as Rehoboam had the chance to unify the kingdom and govern wisely. However, influenced by young and inexperienced advisors, Rehoboam ignored the elders' advice to lighten the people's burden and instead decided to increase oppression. This imprudent decision resulted in the definitive division of the kingdom. With the kingdom's division, Jeroboam became king of Israel, ruling over the 10 northern tribes, while Rehoboam maintained control over Judah and Benjamin in the south. However, Jeroboam faced a great dilemma. He feared that his people, traveling to Jerusalem to worship at the temple, might shift their loyalty to Rehoboam. In an effort to consolidate his power and prevent this, Jeroboam made a grave error. He had 2 golden calves built and placed them in Bethel and Dan, proclaiming that these were the gods that had freed Israel from Egypt. This act not only disobeyed God's commandments, but also introduced a new form of idolatry in Israel, diverting the people from worshiping Yahweh. Additionally, Jeroboam established sanctuaries in Bethel and Dan, promoting these places as worship centers in opposition to Jerusalem. He also appointed priests from outside the tribe of Levi, breaking with the tradition that only Levites could perform priestly functions. Further strengthen his new religion, Jeroboam instituted a festival on the 15th day of the 8th month, mimicking Judah's Feast of Tabernacle, dedicated to the golden calf. These actions were a complete departure from established religious precepts and an attempt to consolidate his political and religious authority. God's response to Jeroboam's actions was swift and severe. God sent a prophet from Judah to confront him in Bethel. During a sacrificial ceremony, the prophet proclaimed that a future king of Judah, named Josiah, would destroy the Bethel altar and sacrifice the idolatrous priests. To confirm the truth of his prophecy, the prophet declared that the altar would split in half, and its ashes would scatter. Immediately, the altar split, and the ashes scattered exactly as the prophet had predicted. In a fit of rage, Jeroboam tried to arrest the prophet, but his hand became paralyzed. Only after the prophet prayed was Jeroboam's hand restored, but he remained unrepentant and continued in his wrong ways. Jeroboam's refusal to repent of his sins, tragic consequence. God declared that Jeroboam's house would be exterminated. His son Ahijah became gravely ill, and Jeroboam, remembering Ahijah's prophecy, sent his wife disguised to consult the prophet. Ahijah, now old and blind, immediately recognized Jeroboam's wife and announced that the boy would die as soon as she returned to the city. This event symbolized the divine judgment on Jeroboam's house. Additionally, all the men in Jeroboam's house would be eliminated, and his dynasty would be swept away like garbage until no trace remained. After Jeroboam's death, his son Nadab ascended the throne but followed his father's idolatrous ways. Nadab reigned for only 2 years before being assassinated by Baasha of the tribe of Issachar. With Nadab's death, Baasha took the throne and exterminated Jeroboam's entire lineage, thus fulfilling Ahijah's prophecy. Jeroboam's story is a powerful reminder of the pitfalls of power and the importance of faithfulness to God. He began as a promising leader with divine blessing, but his decisions based on fear and self-preservation led to his ruin. His story teaches us that true leadership is rooted in humility and obedience to God, and that the consequences of straying from the divine path can have lasting repercussions for future generations. This narrative also warns us of the dangers of idolatry and disobedience. Jeroboam's choices not only led the people of Israel away from true worship of God, but also set a pattern of unfaithfulness that would affect subsequent generations. Even in the face of signs and miracles, Jeroboam refused to return to the right path, demonstrating how the human heart can be stubborn and resistant to change. Finally, Jeroboam's story serves as a lesson on the responsibility of leaders to guide their people according to divine principles. His negative example reminds us that the pursuit of power and personal security should never outweigh faithfulness to God and His commandments. May we learn from Jeroboam's mistakes and always seek true greatness in serving others and obeying the divine will. May God abundantly bless everyone, and may we continue to learn and grow together in our spiritual journey. Subscribe to the channel for more biblical stories, share with your friends, and leave your like to help spread this message of faith around the world.